There is this very specific, almost biological feeling of digital dread that I think we've all experienced.
Oh, totally.
Like you click a link, the page starts to load, and immediately, within literal milliseconds, right, your brain just screams, nope, absolutely not.
Right, you just want to bail immediately.
Exactly. You haven't even read a single word yet, but you're frantically scrambling to close the tab. Like, I don't know, like the pixels on your screen are actually on fire.
It really is a visceral reaction, isn't it?
It is. And welcome to today's deep dive, by the way. We are so thrilled you're here with us because today we are unpacking the exact architecture of a perfect digital space.
Yeah, drawing on some really incredible insights from a design guide by the agency Stella Pop. It's called The 8 Web Design Commandments That Will Deliver a Heavenly Website.
Right. And our mission for this deep dive is to figure out the exact difference between a site that seamlessly converts visitors into loyal fans and, well, one that aggressively drives them away.
And we process visual information so quickly, I mean, thousands of times faster than text, that the decision to stay or leave a web page, it happens almost entirely in our subconscious.
Yeah, it's wild.
It is. Before your logical brain even registers what the website is selling, your lizard brain has already conducted a threat assessment of the layout and decided to bolt.
And, the data backs up just how ruthless we are as users. There is a statistic right at the top of our research that is, frankly, staggering.
Oh, 88%.
Yes, 88%. 88% of users refuse to return to a website after a poor experience. Just think about the sheer volume of lost opportunity there.
It's devastating.
Right. The wasted marketing dollars, the abandoned shopping carts that single percentage represents. I was thinking about it, and it's honestly like a bad first date.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Like if the initial vibes are confusing or overwhelming, or the person is just screaming at you the second you sit down, there's absolutely no second date. You're just gone.
Spot on. Because the store, or the person, in your analogy, might have the greatest qualities in the world, but the friction is just too high.
Yeah, it's just too much effort.
Exactly. When we look at the core philosophy of a truly heavenly digital space, according to Stella Pop, it all boils down to one word, and that's effortlessness.
Effortlessness. I like that.
Yeah, it's their first commandment, essentially.
Yeah.
Honor thy user. The ultimate goal of web design is the total elimination of cognitive friction.
So a user shouldn't have to decode your navigation menu.
Right, or hunt for the search bar. They should just be able to effortlessly absorb the value you're offering.
Okay, so if effortlessness is the ultimate goal, we have to start at the absolute beginning of the user journey, right?
Yep, the psychology of the very first click.
Right. And when that page renders, you're dealing with a concept that actually predates the internet entirely, which is their 7th commandment, respecting the fold.
Yes, the fold. It's such a fascinating piece of legacy terminology.
I mean, it comes from newspapers, right?
Exactly. To understand it, you have to look back at the physical architecture of newspapers. If you picture a traditional broadsheet paper sitting on a newsstand, it's folded in half.
Right.
The space above the fold is the top half of the front page. It contains the masthead, the boldest imagery, and the most critical headline of the day.
The stuff that makes you actually buy it.
Precisely. It's the space specifically engineered to make you stop walking, reach into your pocket, and buy the paper. In web terms, the fold translates to the screen space that is instantly visible before the user performs any scrolling whatsoever.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I hear the term the fold, and I immediately think of, like, the 1990s desktop internet.
Sure. Chunky monitors and slow connection.
Yeah. We are living in a modern ecosystem where everybody's compulsively scrolling on their phones. I mean, my thumb is literally swiping upward the millisecond a page starts to load.
Oh, completely.
We are in this era of infinite scroll feeds and doom scrolling. So in that context, does the fold really still matter? It feels like we are agonizing over like a fraction of a second of screen time.
Well, what's fascinating here is that while our physical behaviors have absolutely changed, yes, we scroll immediately. Our psychological need for instant validation hasn't changed one bit.
Oh, interesting.
In fact, on a mobile device, the real estate is so small that the fold is actually more critical than ever. It is your ultimate first impression real estate.
So it's not about cramming all your information into that top box then?
Exactly. That is a massive misconception. People think above the fold means a billboard where you have to shove your logo, your navigation, a hero video, 3 paragraphs of text.
And a newsletter sign-up form?
Yes. And doing that creates that exact overwhelming bad first date vibe you mentioned.
Too intense, too fast.
Right. Instead, respecting the fold means using that highly constrained space to make a singular, compelling promise. It is an elevator pitch. You are using that space to prove to the user immediately that the rest of the site is actually worth the physical effort of moving their thumb.
So you buy the right to the scroll.
Exactly.
You give them a clear headline, a striking image, and a reason to venture deeper. But let's assume you've nailed it. You've earned that initial trust, and they've decided to swipe up.
Okay.
How do you structure the rest of the page so they don't get completely overwhelmed as more and more information is revealed? Because that brings us to Stella Pop's next few commandments.
Right, commandments 2, 4, and 3.
Yeah, this is where a designer has to build what I like to call an invisible architecture, and a massive part of that architecture is commandment 2. Employ balance. You have to say no to those huge, terrifying blocks of text.
Oh, wall of text syndrome is the worst.
It is. And you can't just have enormous screen-stretching images either. Text and imagery have to dance together. It relies on visual hierarchies and a mathematical concept called the golden mean.
Visual balance is really where the art and the hard science of design intersect.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the golden mean, or the golden ratio, is a mathematical proportion found everywhere in nature. You see it in the spiral of a nautilus shell, the arrangement of petals on a flower.
Wait, really? A nautilus shell?
Yep, even the shape of galaxies, it's roughly a ratio of 1 to 1.618.
Okay, but how does a nautilus shell translate to a web page? Are designers out there like drawing spirals on their screens?
Not exactly. Practically speaking, it's about asymmetrical balance. If you divide your screen so that your main content column takes up roughly 62% of the width, and your secondary sidebar takes up about 38%, you're utilizing the golden mean.
I see.
And human beings find that specific proportional relationship inherently universally pleasing. Our brains don't have to expend any energy figuring out what is most important.
Because the math is naturally guiding our eyes to the main content.
Exactly, while allowing the sidebar to support it without competing for dominance.
It creates this nice visual rhythm. And a visual hierarchy tells the user's brain what is most important, second most important, and so on. But to keep that rhythm from devolving into chaos, you need a strict time signature.
Right, which brings us to commandment 4, which is all about avoiding misalignment.
Yes. You have to lock those proportions into a grid system.
The grid system is the invisible skeleton of a high-functioning website. Think of columns and rows that you never actually see.
It might sound a bit rigid, honestly, to a creative mind.
It can, but a grid is what keeps components strictly aligned. It ensures that the left margin of a photograph lines up perfectly with the left margin of the paragraph below it.
And that meticulous alignment makes the site feel clean.
Clean and trustworthy. And crucially, it makes future updates much easier for the creator. It prevents the design from breaking when a user resizes their browser window or flips their tablet sideways.
Which flows right into what I think is the most counterintuitive part of this invisible architecture, and that's commandment 3, allow white space. Or negative space.
Yes, giving the audience breathing room.
Exactly, because if you don't enforce a grid system and you refuse to use white space because you want to maximize every single pixel, your website essentially becomes a digital hoarder's closet.
Oh, the hoarder's closet analogy is a great way to visualize cognitive overload.
Right, because think about opening a physical closet in your house. If it is jammed to the absolute ceiling with boxes, old clothes, and random junk.
Just a total nightmare.
Total nightmare. No shelves, no organization, and literally no physical empty space to even reach your arm inside. What do?
You shut the door.
You don't patiently try to dig through the mess to find the one pair of shoes you're looking for. You become paralyzed by the sheer volume of stuff. You shut the door and you walk away. That's what a website without a grid and white space feels like.
And if we carry that analogy forward, the grid system provides the sturdy shelves, but the white space provides the actual physical room for you to reach your arm in and grab what you need.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, a huge misunderstanding among novice designers is that white space is just empty space. They see it as wasted real estate. But white space isn't empty at all. It is highly active.
Active in what way? Because, to the naked eye, it's just a blank background.
It acts as a visual roadmap. By surrounding a specific element, say a Buy Now button with white space, you are essentially putting a massive spotlight on it. You are guiding the user's eye exactly where you want it to go by removing all nearby distractions.
Okay, so we have our invisible architecture mapped out. We've built the shelves with our grid, we have our visual pacing set with our white space, and we are using the golden mean to balance the room.
A very organized room.
Very. But what actually goes onto those shelves to communicate instantly with the user? Because, text is cognitively heavy. Reading burns mental calories.
It really does.
So how do we communicate instantly to save the user's mental energy? This is where we get into the emotional anchors of a website, which are commandments 5 and 6, color and imagery.
Color Commandment 5. Use color wisely is incredibly powerful because it bypasses logic entirely. It speaks directly to our emotions.
Right. It conveys brand attitudes in a fraction of a second. Like a site heavily utilizing deep navy blues and slate grays instantly communicates corporate stability.
Whereas a site splashing vibrant oranges and electric pinks communicates high energy, youth, disruption.
But color isn't just about painting a pretty picture, right? It is a highly functional tool. You use color contrast to show a user state changes like whether a button has been clicked.
Or if a form field was filled out incorrectly by tuning the border red.
Exactly. And there is a vital, non-negotiable aspect to this that often gets overlooked by people just trying to make things look cool, and that is accessibility.
Which goes right back to our core philosophy of effortlessness and honoring the user.
Right. The Stella Pop source gives a great shout out to Google's color tool for this, because if you design a beautiful minimalist site using, say, a light gray font on a crisp white background,
Which looks incredibly sleek in a design portfolio.
But if a visually impaired user, or even just someone trying to read your site outside in the glaring sun, literally cannot decipher the text because the contrast ratio is too low, you have failed.
You've fundamentally shut the door on a significant portion of your audience.
Yeah. Accessibility isn't some extra bonus feature you tack on at the end. It is the absolute baseline of competent design.
Because if someone has to squint to read your menu, you've introduced friction. And friction is the enemy.
The absolute enemy.
Which is also why Commandment 6 demands the use of pictures and videos. High-resolution imagery, icons, GIFs, animations. It's about cognitive efficiency.
A classic adage, right. A picture is worth 1,000 words. If you can replace a dense, intimidating paragraph explaining your software with a clean 3-second animation, you are creating less work for the user. But I have to ask a structural question here. Let me play devil's advocate for a second.
Please do.
So what does this all mean for balance? We just spent 10 minutes talking about the sanctity of white space, avoiding visual clutter, staying out of the hoarder's closet.
Right.
Now we are saying we should inject high-res videos, GIFs, and animations all over the site. How do you use high-res videos and animations without violating the very first rule we talked about, keeping things effortless and not overwhelming the user?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture of user psychology, the distinction really comes down to intent and execution. Visuals must be functional, not just decorative.
Meaning they have to serve a specific purpose.
Exactly. If you are adding a video background to your homepage just because you think it looks dynamic but it doesn't actually explain your product, yes, you're just adding visual noise.
You are cluttering the closet.
But if you use an icon or a short animation to explain a complex mechanism like showing how a physical product snaps together, you are actually reducing cognitive load. Parsing text requires sustained focus. Parsing a functional animation happens almost instantaneously.
That makes a lot of sense, so it keeps them relaxed.
Yes. When you reduce that cognitive load, you keep the user relaxed and engaged. Furthermore, prioritizing accessible colors and clear visuals proves you are truly honoring all users.
That distinction between functional and decorative is crucial. Okay, so let's assume you've pulled off a miracle. You have built the perfect homepage.
The dream scenario.
Right. It's balanced, accessible, and beautiful. The user is delighted, but their journey doesn't end on the homepage, does it?
No, it doesn't. And this brings us to the final hurdle, Commandment 8.
Yes, Commandment 8, be consistent. I mean, the entire website must feel like one single cohesive document from the homepage all the way through to the contact page.
The imagery style, the specific color schemes, the font choices, even the tone of voice in your copywriting.
Everything must remain perfectly consistent.
It sounds incredibly simple in theory, but maintaining that level of discipline over years of website updates is incredibly difficult.
Well, here's where it gets really interesting, because I have a confession to make.
Oh boy.
I am exactly the type of person who is tempted to break this rule, like constantly.
You're the nightmare client?
I really am. Let's say I'm managing a site, and a year after it launched, I'm randomly inserting a cool new UI feature. Maybe a really trendy new font, or I'm making piecemeal updates over time just because a new neon button looks fun.
It is incredibly tempting to play with the shiny new toys in the design world.
It is, so why can't I? Why is that such a cardinal sin?
I have to gently warn against this temptation. Because while slapping a trendy neon button on a subpage might seem like a small, fun, aesthetic choice to you, it can subconsciously break the user's trust.
Break their trust.
Yeah.
Just from changing a font.
Absolutely. Think about human evolution. We are fundamentally pattern recognition machines. When a visual pattern is established and then breaks unexpectedly, it triggers an alert in our brain.
Oh, wow.
If a user clicks from a beautifully polished corporate homepage to a subpage that suddenly features an unmatched color scheme and a quirky font, the site feels disjointed.
It's like walking through the lobby of a 5-star luxury hotel with marble floors and classical music, and then you open the door to the restroom, and suddenly you're standing in a dingy, flickering 1970s gas station bathroom.
Exactly.
You would instantly freeze. You would question the hygiene of the entire hotel.
That is the perfect analogy. That jarring shift makes the user feel insecure. On the web, when consistency breaks, users subconsciously wonder if they clicked a malicious link or if the site is secure.
Right, they snap out of that heavenly, effortless experience they were promised.
You force them to stop thinking about your product and start thinking about your messy interface.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I think the biggest takeaway here is a beautiful irony. Truly heavenly web design is almost invisible.
It really is.
When the grid systems, the white space, consistent colors, and visual hierarchies are working perfectly, the user simply doesn't notice the design at all. They just seamlessly absorb the content.
Good design gets out of its own way. And, the Cell Pop source notes something really foundational.
Yeah.
Your website is your prime digital real estate, and it dictates the buyer's digital journey.
Right.
If 88% of people will abandon a site over a poor design experience, then every tiny design choice, a button color, the alignment of a column, the tone of a headline, isn't just an aesthetic choice.
It's a critical communication of your actual values.
Exactly. So the final thought I want to leave you with today is this. The next time you visit your own website or even your own social media profile, look past the content. What is the design silently communicating to the world before anyone even reads a single word?
Wow, that really makes you think about every pixel, doesn't it? That's a fascinating question to mull over. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive today. Take a look at your own digital real estate, and we'll catch you on the next one.